bring me back that cup. Niggas know they in trouble. Look around, little nigga, you see my breath, we deep as a mom. Red letters got me waiting on the thief. Lord, we ain't no priest. I want the world to burn, just like Arthur Flint. I asked my Lord when we get that power, he said time to show. Took that first step like a man, I ain't no child no more. I need that glow. Humble, I don't like the boast. They know it ain't 144, they don't come close. Let's see who wanted the most. I'm from a city where they blitz, they'll rob you quick. Ask a God out DC about that shit, we both came up with trick. I remember when I was lost and on the wrong path. Lies that I told my mother, lies that I told my dad. Remember I walked in the house, he seen all the stress on my head. Called you about that robbery after school, I knew what I did. Victim of peer pressure all along, I guess I was scared. I saw the niggas tell Miss Graham that crack, I should've killed her. I understand our pressure, when she died, it was heartbreaking. About to take a trip to Newtown just to say I'm sorry, man. This the only family I gotta play to win. At least I'm for my children, so they ain't victim of they sin. Glory, cause I chased away that demon, try to take my kin. Can't taste that pleasures with a vengeance, he'll be back again. Niggas move by emotions, I'm a soldier, I can't comprehend. Just know when Satan put that pressure on him, he'll probably been jumped off in that water, he can hardly swim. Strap on me, to protect my people, I'm on God. I got a crazy bitch, love the crazy in me, call her Harley Quinn. Remember what you did for me back then, always a long friend. Text my nigga threw his life away, I'm in a dark place. You supposed to be right here with me, you chose the wrong side. Wasn't always friends, we locked in after no, I can't go like that, my lord, no, not this time. I am the rebel, ask about I been the rebel. Niggas ain't never been on my level, they must got the wrong impression. All my fears, and salute my lord, shine took my check. Go through all this, just to drop my sword, that shit out the question. Kyle can't call 144, we got the wrong one. Keep talking, I'm deep stroking, revenge, she a grown one. I get 2 Glocks, fully loaded, nigga, I call him dumb and dumb. What's wrong with him? He should've known better, he must be on something. Hey, it's Mr. Bring me back that cup, niggas know they in trouble. Look around, little nigga, you see my breath, we deep as a mom. Red letters got me waiting on the thief. Lord, we ain't no priest, I want the world to burn, just like Arthur Flint. I'm trying to start this fire, but I'll be patient, Lord, I'll be still. My enemy took a turn for the worse, that shit gave me chill. Certified property, A1 Western, he don't fit the bill. The call, cause next season we're at Soldier Circle on the field. I said we gon' teach him all to run, we gon' teach him all to kill him. If you can't go to him alone, then you ain't in this shit for real. I.S.UP.K, you get the bonus, what you do, how you keep your cool, how you find the truth. I said some niggas told me some real shit. When your Hunter said, God ain't 50-50, he revealed. Then Muhammad said, you had these little things, you get the kill shit. I was lost, I thank the Lord, he put that zeal on me later. Don't say that, hold up, fuck that. I thank the Lord, he put that zeal on me later. So I got niggas up on Willow Road, it's still on me a fake. It was a nigga up on Bear Roads putting me on cash. Shit, I know a nigga up on Stain Road that shoot nice like Lil Baby. Could've went crazy, you think you the one with trauma, huh? Nigga, please, I was with them boys in the hood, just like Jordan did some shit I ain't gon' never tell. Ones that know it's God in me. Why I get that mercy, Lord? Don't know why you guarded me. God, I know you love me. You saved my life that night on New Year's Eve. So I was out there riding with them demons like a dinner thief. Lord, I'm still trying to change. Please don't bring that darkness yet. It ain't hard to battle with me, but I am the wrong one to tell. I left some brothers down to this day. It's my biggest regret. But I know the self I took forgiveness is a bigger flick. The only reason I made the call, only reason I confess, so I can ride and watch the world burn, just like Arthur Flint. I am the rip. Hold on.
Turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down to ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. Tell me we don't live in hell. My brother doing 55 in that cell. Nigga claiming he your round, he'll spin shell. Same nigga you put on to hit the stand and tell. How the fuck you turn your back on a nigga that love you? Treat your kids like my kids, treat you like a brother. I told my dog, let's leave the streets to serve the most high. He said, fuck that shit, he tryna sell another pie. His daddy killed him, put him in the trunk, set him on fire. His wife was pregnant, he ain't never get to see his child. Had me thinking to myself, what happened if I die? Look my babies in the eyes, I gotta stay alive. I put my ego on the shelf and my pride to the side. I'm with some niggas who gon' step and got God on their side. Got in the I.S.UP.K, they keep asking me why. As I do the work of the Lord, I gotta stay alive. Face the east and pray aloud. I seen heaven turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down to ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. I gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive.
You ever pump a pack with a snake by your side? Yes, I Seen did. A man reach out to God before he died? Yes, I did. I know the Lord forgive us for these sins, but I'm starting to think the kingdom of heaven is for these kids. I told my daughters, one man in your bed, I won't stand for left. For my son, I hit your head on that fragile leg. I lost some niggas to that dope, I lost niggas to the feds. Remember Jono tried to stick me for that cheese on that bread. Yeah, I was thuggin' with Lucky and that nigga left me for dead. Endure to the end, cause I listened to what was said. Mother told me she loved me when she was sick up in the bed. I was running them streets, but the truth made me a man. Shit, I don't really speak, cause she'll never understand. That's why I ain't even tell her about these voices in my head. I'm still trying to manage my anger like Uncle Craig.
I see heaven turn to hell, I gotta stay alive. Lord have mercy on my soul, stand by my side. I killed the old man and I watched him die. Lost a couple niggas, guess he wasn't my round. Hey, play my niggas, lay you down, they all down to ride. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive. I gotta stay alive. Keep my gun in my arm, I gotta stay alive.
Salakia about that. I thought y'all could hear us. Had to change the audio. Well, I will start from the top. Salakia. I just went into a whole breakdown, y'all. I thought y'all could hear me this whole time. Salakia. It's been a minute since I've been in the classroom. Well, on the podium teaching, right? Salakia. As I said, we're gonna start from the beginning. Shalom Yahabah Shem Yahushua Barakatah. Shalom Yahushua Malatah Bashem Yahushua to all the sisters. Right? This priest and officer 50 I.S.UP.K checking in. Right? It's been a minute since y'all see me up on this podium teaching. Right? But today we'll be teaching about so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians' true historical history in the Bible, right? Can y'all can I get a one in the chat if y'all can hear me? We good to go? Salakia, let's get a chat a few seconds. Okay, Most High in Christ. Right? As I said, man, this our true history comes from this Bible, right? If I could, can I get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 1? Right? Go ahead, you can read it.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And Moses with the elders of Israel.
Right. So this is Moses talking with the elders of Israel. So he's talking to a specific nation of people, right? A specific people. He's not talking to everyone in this, in this category here, right? Go ahead.
Commanded the people.
Right. So he gave orders to the people, right? He didn't tell them softly, like, hey, can you? No, he said, this is what I need you to do, and I need you to go do it, exactly the way that I'm telling you to get this handled, right? Read on.
Saying, keep all the commandments.
Right. He said, keep all the commandments. Your pastor is going to tell you it's done away with, or he going to tell you just keep the Big Ten. So which one is it? My advice to all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians is to listen to what the Bible says. The Bible says, keep all the commandments, right? Read on.
Which I command you this day.
So on this day, Moses gave commands, right? He gave orders to keep the commandments, right? Read on. That's it? Right. Most High in Christ. So Moses, as I said, man, as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, as the Israelites of the Bible, we are commanded to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We're not commanded to just keep, just 10 of them, 2, 1, but all of them, right? Jump down to Slakia, jump up to 28 in verse 1.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And it shall come to pass,
Mhm.
if thou shalt hearken
Right.
diligently.
So when the Bible says it shall come to pass, right? It shall happen, right? This means it's guaranteed to come to pass, fulfill a prophecy, is what the world says, right? This is a prophetic book, right? Go ahead.
Unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
Uh-huh.
to observe and to do all his commandments.
Right. So the Lord is saying here through Moses, saying, keep all the commandments, right? Read on.
Which I command thee this day,
Uh-huh.
that the Lord thy God
Uh-huh.
will set thee on high above.
Right. So it says the Lord will set thee on high. What does that look like? Right? That's power. That's authority, right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians don't know what power or authority looks like because we never had it, right? In a household, some of us had a structured house, right? We had an authority figure to look up to want to be like. But as a nation, we don't know how that feels. We go out today, we see, oh, we need money. We need a town. We need a city, but we don't have a foundation. We had Oscarville, Rosewood. We had Chicago, right? These are many towns that we had. Oscarville, I believe I said that already, but it's under a lake. They flooded it. Why? Because we didn't have a foundation. What am I talking about here? Without a structure, without foundation, you can't have a structure. I can't build a house without a platform to sit it on, right? That foundation is the Bible. The foundation is the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Without that, we don't have anything. Read on.
On high above all nations.
Right. So the Bible is saying, right, that if you keep the law, statutes, and commandments, if we, Salakia, because we are in this as a whole, right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, if we keep the law, statutes, and commandments, then we will be on high above what?
Above all nations.
Above all nations. What is a nation? A nation is a people, right? Read on.
Of the earth.
Of the earth, right? So all we got 18 different nations on this earth. And the Lord said, if we, right, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, the Israelites, if we keep the law, statutes, and commandments, then we will be on high above all nations of the earth. It doesn't say anything different. It doesn't say, you be beside or between, right? Pause. But we will be above all nations. We'll be the ones that's in authority, right? We'll be the ones passing laws and in statutes and rules, things of that nature in order to run a people, right? Because it comes from the law, not just ourselves. When I say the law, I mean the Bible, right? It comes from the Lord. It's not coming from my carnal thoughts of how I think something should happen, right? Read on. Is that the end of that?
Okay.
Let me get verse 1. Verse 2, Salakia.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
All these blessings shall come on thee.
Right. So if we listen to the Lord, man, we'll receive many blessings. Right? We'll receive many things that comes with listening to the Lord. But that's something that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have a hard time doing, which is why these precepts that I'm bringing out today is the foundation of why we are in the predicaments, the situations that we are in now, because we don't understand why. We always look at each other and want to harm one another, but we don't understand that we're going through the same pain, right? We're going through the same thing. And even if a brother did hurt another brother, it's going to happen tomorrow. And again and over again, the cycle never stops. But with this Bible, I can show you how this is set up for us. This only happens to us. It doesn't happen to anybody else. For our disobedience, for our negligence against the Lord, for our carnal thoughts of wanting to be like everybody else. These are the things that we have to understand in order to better our communities, or it won't ever happen, because the oppressor is not gonna do it. The oppressor wants you to sell drugs, right? And also selling drugs is a witch. I don't know if y'all know that. You a warlock or whatever they call it. I don't really know, but this is the life that was set up against you, even though America knows who you are. America knows that you're not supposed to be, selling drugs to each other, unaliving one another, because if if they did tell you, they'll lose their seat in power. They'll lose their rulership. Why am I saying this? Because the Bible says it. Right? Let me get verse 15, right? Same chapter, verse 15. You got it? You can read it whenever you got it. Deuteronomy 28:15.
All right. And overtake thee.
What's that? That's 28:2.
28:2.
Yeah, you can finish that out, Salakia.
If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Verse 3.
No, you can drop that. But basically, verse 21, Salakia, verse 1 through 14 right? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, 1 through 14, is the blessings that would happen to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, the Israelites, the true Israelites of the Bible. These are the blessings that would happen to us if we kept the commandments, right? If we, studied this book, if we studied this law to understand that we are not like everybody else. Like I said, this Bible is called the Holy Bible. Salakia. I said, like y'all heard me in the first 17 minutes of the class, and I messed up the audio. Salakia. But this Bible is separate from everybody else, right? Holy means separate, to be separated, right? Or severed, right? And Bible is, or Biblios means book. So this is a separate book from every other, religion, culture, or anything else that's upon the face of the earth. Doesn't have anything to do with this Bible, right? Read on. You can jump to 15, Salakia. Yeah.
28 and 15.
Yeah, that's right.
Verse 15.
Mhm.
It shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right. So this thing that that Moses is talking about, so this shall surely happen, right? So when it says, this shall come to pass, right? So when it says come to pass, it means this shall surely happen, right? Read on.
To observe, to do all his commandments
Mhm.
and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
Right. So Moses is saying that if you don't listen to what I have to say, right? Salakia. If you don't, sit down and take an ear, take heed to what I'm saying to you, right? Read on.
That all these curses,
Right, all
shall
these
come
what?
upon
All these what?
all these curses,
Right. What is a curse? Right. What does curse sound like to you? Let's get some comments in the chat. Let's see what the chat has to say about what a curse is. What do you guys think a curse is? What does a curse look like? Let's give him a few seconds. Salakia. Now I'm not seeing no chats. I'm not seeing no comments. But it's Tawab though. I got the definition of a curse, right? You got it? You can read it.
Come on. This is Oxford Language Dictionary.
Uh-huh.
The definition of curses: a Solomon utterance intended to invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or
To do
punishment. A supernatural power
Mm-hmm.
to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something.
Right. So this is an utterance, right? A saying, right? So like we got Sister Trinity, she said a bad spell someone puts on you. Yeah, I could say yeah, but in this form, this wouldn't be a spell, right? Well, I wouldn't use spell anyway. Be a curse, because this is what the Bible says. The Bible says a curse, but I understand what you're saying, right? It says a solemn utterance intended to invoke, right? What does invoke mean? What does that mean? Right, to bring upon, to continuously, speak upon it, right? To invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something, right? So this is a curse. These curses, right, were put upon us if we did not listen to the law, statutes, and commandments, right? So these curses shall come upon thee, right? Read on.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
And overtake thee. Right? What does it mean to overtake something? To overpower. Right? It's just like we talking about colors, right? if I put, gray paint on a wall, or if I pour gray paint into a bucket, right, and I pour black paint inside of a bucket, what color is the paint gonna turn? It's gonna get darker because black overpowers gray, right? It's going to overpower it. In the same way that we are overpowered by our curses. And why am I saying that, right? Let's get some more. Read on.
Next verse.
Yeah, next verse.
Cursed, excuse me, verse 6,
Mhm.
verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
Cursed shall that be in the city. What does that look like? What does that sound like to us? All right. Anybody got an answer in the chat or in the room? What does that look like today? You want to answer? Okay. Right. Cursed in the city means what? Right. Last hire, first fire. Right. What does that sound like? We're the last ones to get hired on a job if someone seems more sophisticated than a black person, right? If you put black on your application, sometimes most times we are discriminated against just about every time, right? It doesn't just stop there, right? What looked upon in the city, right? When you see a back then they used to say clutching their pearls, right? So walking in a city full of oppressors, they clutch their purses, right? Or they clutch their guns. Why am I saying this? Because they feel threatened by black people. Why? Because of our skin color, because of who we are biblically. Naturally, they are afraid of us, right? Cursed shall that be in the city, right? We get chased down by police officers daily, right? And some say, oh, it's because of your choices. No, it's because oppressors are evil. They look for a reason to pull black people over, right? It's part of their quota to put blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians inside of the prisons. Why am I saying that? Because it's statistics. We talk about statistics. We can pull up interviews. We can do a lot of things to pull just to prove a point that the so-called oppressor is the devil. Why am I saying devil? Because he's deceived the entire earth, right? He's going to deceive you into saying you committed a crime when you didn't, right? Well, that's why, when they say black people are 13.5%, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, of the population of America, but we can commit 50% of the crimes. How? With the lowest 13% of a nation, right? Of a country, Salakia, of a country of millions of people, billions, right? But we commit 50% of the crimes? Make it make sense, please. Black people are more likely to be convicted of a crime that they did not commit. It happens all the time. I know we all heard about the century, I forgot the name of the park, but there was 5 black men that were convicted of a crime, a sexual assault crime that they did not commit. When they got out, they were like 50, pushing 40 years old. Because a oppressor, a white woman, a Caucasian woman, Salakia, I might get checked for it, Salakia, she blamed them for a crime that they did not commit. What are we talking about here? I can go on and on, right? Salakia, read on.
And cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Cursed shall thou be in the field, man. The work field, right? What did I just say? Last hire, first fire, man. The slavery field, right? When we talk about slavery, the cotton fields, tobacco fields, sugarcane fields, right? We were during the sugarcane, during the sugarcane era, right? Well, Salaki, I'm not gonna say era, but while blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were in bondage, right, on the islands, right, in America, while they were picking sugarcane, we had chains and muzzles on our mouths, on our arms and legs, just enough so that we could pick the sugarcane, and a muzzle on our mouths so that we couldn't eat the sugarcane. Because they would rather you die on the field picking it for them than for you to live. That's oppression. Oppression is systematic, right? The system was set up against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Why am I saying that? Because during the Constitution, right, when they set up their Constitution, they said all men shall be treated equally, right? Negroes and Hispanic and Latinos and Native indigenous people were not free when they said all men will be treated equally. So they only had to be talking to one people, and that's the oppressor. You can look it up. When what's about to come up, Independence Day, New Year's, we were still in bondage in 18 whatever, whatever year that they celebrated their independence from England, from France, or the British. We were still in bondage. So when it says in the field, cursed shall I be in the field, what are we talking about here? Understand that we were never supposed to be in a position this low, right? But we, because of our disobedience, decided that we want to be like everybody else. So this is what happened to us. Cursed shall I be in the field, so like in the city and in the field, right? Jump down to let me get 17 too.
Verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Right, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store, man. So when we try to set up shop on the road, what happens? We get ice kicking in our doors. We a permit, man. I'm finna ship you across the border because you're an illegal immigrant. The oppressor is the first illegal immigrant. He came over here and raped, robbed, and murdered everything. Everything he took, he pillaged for it, murdered for it. Salakia, unalived for it. Salakia. He took it by force, right? The oppressor does everything, and then we get blamed for it, right? Salakia. Jump down to verse 28.
Verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord shall smite thee with madness.
Right. So when the Lord says he shall smite thee, so he shall sin, right? Shall put upon us, beat us with madness, man. What does that look like? Right? Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, right? These are all demons. These are all things that we deal with daily as a people. Why? Because we decided, because of our disobedience, we want to do everything else except for follow the Lord, man. Right, Rito?
And blindness.
And blindness, man. Some of us are born blind, but this is also, the blindness to the oppression that is happening to us here in America, man. We don't see it. Well, it's not happening to me, so I don't care about it. But it's happening to a nation of people, and that's us. That's us. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians go through oppression together, not separately. Just because one family is going through it does not mean you are not also. When we learn to love each other, then we can start to understand that we are no longer alone. Our oppression happens together. Right? Read on. Is that the end of that?
Or
is it some more?
a little bit.
Yeah, read that.
And astonishment of heart.
Man, you have no will, man. You have no fight power here in America. You might as well. To us, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we've been walked over and treaded like in the wine press, right? That's I'm not comparing to us to the wine press, but to us is like a wine press. But the wine press I'm referring to is when the Most High will come back, when Christ, crack that sky, treading upon that wine press. I pray you understand what I'm talking about. That's another breakdown for another day. But in this case, we've been stepped on and beaten to our last, right? If I could, because blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are a great people, right? A phenomenal builders, right? A phenomenal nation of people, right? We've done everything. We've done a lot, right? We've built cities. We've made the stoplight, the security system, right? We sent the oppressor to space. Our black women sent the oppressor to space, man. So lock you. Let me get there. This is precept, right? So lock you. Let me get there. Should have wrote it down. All right, let me get the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 13, right? Let's help our people understand something, right? Because it's always been said that, black people are lazy. We this and we that. Chapter 13, verse, it's like chapter 5, verse 13. 5 and 13, right? We've always been told we're lazy. We don't want to do nothing, right? We're the most base people on this earth. But let the Bible speak, right? Read that.
Con. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Ye are the salt of the earth.
Right. Ye are the salt of the earth, man. What is it? What does salt do? Salt gives flavor, right? A savor, a something that is. If I don't put salt on food or a cracker, right, it's bland. It doesn't have a taste, right? It doesn't taste like anything. But as soon as you add a little salt to it, right, like, oh, what's that? That's good right there. That tastes, maybe I want to, continue to use this salt here, right, to flavor my food, right? Read on.
But if salt have lost his flavor,
right? Salt has lost its flavor, man. It's bland. It don't have no taste, right? Read on.
Wherewith shall it be salted?
Mm-hmm. Wherewith, what else is going to make my food taste better? What else is going to put some rhythm to something to make it look good, right? Read on.
But to be cast out,
mm-hmm.
and to be
trodden mm-hmm.
under foot of men.
Right. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's who I'm talking about. We are the salt of the earth. We're the ones that give flavor, right? That savor to something, yeah, right? To our music, right? To our food, our culture, right? This Bible is our culture, but here in America, they say our culture is hip hop, right? Our culture is our soul food or our Mexican cuisine or something like that, right? But our clothing, right? Our food, like I said, our food, our music, the things that we create, the security system was created by a black woman. The stoplight was created by black people. The refrigerator system was created by black people. The cotton gin was created by black. I could go on and on and on about the things that black people created because we put flavor in whatever we touch. We are the ones that build everything. But the oppressor is a thief, so he's going to tell you he built it. I bet you didn't know this. Jack Daniels was created by a black man, but the oppressor, of course, like I said, he stole it. All of this I can prove. It's nothing but we all have Google machines, your phone in your hand. It's nothing but a simple Google search, right? Black people, we are the flavor. Hispanics, Latinos, Slovakia, we are the flavor, right? We're the salt, right? Slovakia, native indigenous people, we are the salt. We put flavor on anything that we touch, right? And it says wherein how we lost our flavor, man. What does that look like? Being in oppression, starved out, slavery, man, unalived. The oppressor made over 400 treaties with the native Indians and broke every one of them and stole and swept up right up under their feet and stole their culture. Now you got $5 Indians. Now you got oppressors saying that, oh, I'm Cherokee. It got to be a Cherokee G because I don't know no Cherokee that look like him. Right? Salakia. Right. Read that last part for me one time.
Okay. And to be trodden under foot of men.
Right. So the only thing that, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, are we the only thing that we're good for is be trotted underfoot? I believe that we're better than that. We're better than being stepped on, right? We're better to be than being oppressed or being in slavery, right? Our history does not start with slavery. Does not start with us being in chains and being shipped to America. It doesn't start with that, but it starts with this Bible, right in the Garden of Eden. Salakia. This is where our history comes from, right? You can drop that. Salakia. Let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, right? We can go to verse 48. 28, 48.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Right. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies. What are we talking about? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians serve their enemies, right? We serve our enemies here in America, right? What are we talking about here? When has a oppressor ever showed you a friendly hand of anything? To be nice to you, right? Subliminal, subconsciously, right? They'll say, to a tall, muscular, black man or woman, not muscular woman, but that's besides the point. Point is, you play ball? Oh, no, I don't play ball. Oh, such a wasted height. It's for nothing. I've heard it. Right? What are you that tall for? You're not using it. Subconsciously, right? They'll also say, what else have they said? All fat black people can Salakia. I don't know if I can say that. They'll say, all black people can sing, but that's not true. But they look at us as entertainment, which is my whole point. We're not looked at as anything else other than entertainment, something to laugh at. Right? Read on.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
Right. So the Lord sent us against us. Salakia. The Lord sent them against us. Right? What does that look like? All right. When the Lord said he sent something against us, this is our punishment, man. Right? The enemies that he sent against us is the oppressor, right? The Africans, right? The East Indians, right? Arabs, sub-Saharan slave trade, right? The transatlantic slave trade. I go on and on about the slave trades that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have went through together, right? But these are the enemies that the Lord sent against us. In the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 1 to, I believe, 10, you can read about the enemies of the Lord, which are your enemies also. And these are still nations on this earth, right? The Edomites, Ishmaelites, Moabs, Hagareans, right? Cabal, Ammon, Amalek. These are all nations that were sent against you to destroy us. Why? Salakia. Because they hate us. That's why. The oppressor hates you, hates us. Salakia. Right? Read on.
In hunger
Right? In hunger. What does that look like? Your McDonald's, your Walmart, Target, Kmart. Right?
and
Food
in
line.
oh,
So like, no, you
and in thirst.
and in thirst, right? We got to go to all of these major companies just to eat and get water. Right? When at one point it was free to go outside and take a pail, go to a stream and get water. Right now you can't not do that, or you're going to the hospital. You're gonna go to the hospital and find out you got some new parasite inside of your body because the stream is polluted, right? The food is polluted, the air is polluted, right? But being that we have to serve our oppressors in this land, right? We have no choice but to go to them because we don't own any major companies. We don't own Walmart, Target, Kroger, right? Food Lion. We don't own the water companies, right? We don't own Duke Energy, right? We don't.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. So we have to go to them for our clothes too. So even if we want to make clothes, right, we got to go to them for the cotton, the fabric. We got to go to them in order to get whatever we want to live. In order to live in America, we have to go to our oppressors to get it. Right? Read on.
And in want of all things.
So in want of all things, we have to go to our enemies to get it. This comes. This is the outcome of us, following after our oppressor, right? Disobeying the Lord, thinking we can do, any and everything by ourselves, not knowing the only reason that we were freed out of Egypt is because of the Lord, right? You can drop. Is that it on that? You can read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
You shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, man. What does that look like? If I look up a slave picture today, what slavery look like for us? You see a black man, a woman, black, Hispanic, or Native Indian woman, child, and you'll see that they have a yoke of iron, right? So it looked like a necklace, right? A big chain around their neck, a yoke, just like you put a yoke of iron upon an ox so you can plow the field. It's the same thing that happened to us. We had yokes of iron put on us, right? Read on.
Until he have destroyed thee.
Christianity, man. Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter, New Year's, until he have destroyed thee, till you forgot about your culture, till you forgot that you were an Israelite, right? Ephraim, Judah, right? Manasseh, Naphtali, Zebulun, right? Until you forgot who you were, according to these scriptures, what tribe you come from, then they took that yoke upon that yoke off your neck, right? Why? Because you were beaten down and destroyed, right? Not physically, but mentally and spiritually. Some of us were destroyed physically, but this destroyed is talking about that spiritual beat down, right? Read on.
Next verse.
Is that it on that? Yeah, next verse.
Verse 49.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far,
Right. So he shall bring a nation against thee from far, man. What nation came against us from far? Right? Your Africans came against us from far. Right? Your East Indians came to us from far. Right? The oppressor, the devil that the Bible speaks of, came to us from far. Right? We don't?
From the end of the earth,
From the end of the earth. Right? We don't?
as swift as the eagle, fleeth,
Fly.
flieth.
All right, as swift as the eagle flieth. What nation you know has the eagle as their American, as their flag or their symbolism of who they are? Right. In fact, what does an eagle represent? Because an eagle is an apex predator. The eagle, he watches everything from above. Right? He swoops down on his prey. He studies his prey. He watches it to understand its movements, what it eats, what it likes. Right? Just to catch it slipping, just to swoop down for easy pickings. Why? Because America takes its practices, right? Its characteristics the same way as an eagle does. This is why I'm bringing it up, because America is the same way an eagle is. He has the same characteristics, right? Just as he's seen blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were in a low point, he decided that he wanna watch, right? He gonna look for our weaknesses. As soon as we had a weak point, easy pickings, man. It was very easy for the oppressor to come up against us, right? Why? Because we were already at a low point. We were already in chains in Africa, right? That brings me to the point, right? Let me get the book of Babylon, right? We're going to a historical book by a black author, right? Rudolph R. Winsler, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's the one that wrote this book, Babylon the Timbuktu, right? We're gonna go to page 84, I believe, and the second paragraph. We're gonna read about the destruction of Jerusalem and what the true Jews actually look like, right? Read that.
Khan, that's the book of Babylon from Timbuktu, page 84, paragraph 2. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem in 70 AD.
Right. So it took Salakia. So it took 5 years for them to overthrow Jerusalem, because we did not give up Jerusalem without a fight. Right? So he conquered Jerusalem in 5 years. General Pompey with his his commander, right? Is what it says.
For Pompey?
Yeah, Pompey.
It says General Pompey.
And read on.
In 70 AD, General
Vespasian. What?
Vespasian?
Vespasian, I believe that's it.
Vespasian
and
his son Titus put the end of the Jewish state.
So they put the end to the Jewish state, right? To the Israelite state. They say Jewish because here in America have given our land, right, to a pretender, a false claimer, is what they say when it comes to the gangs and things like that. Not saying that we're gang affiliated, Salakia, because we are not. We are totally against gangs, anything that's unlawful according to the land and to this Bible, right? So they falsely claim to be Jews. So when it says Jewish, it means to convert, to be like unto, which is why I say convert, because anybody can convert to a Christian, right? Anybody can convert into a Jew, right? But nobody can convert to be an Israelite, because you have to be born an Israelite. You can be any, Asian man or whatever you want to be, or whatever culture you come from. You can be Jewish because it's a converted thing, right? They don't follow after the Bible like Israelites do. Salakia, read on.
With great slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
During the period of the military governors of Palestine,
Right. So they murdered us. It's like they unalived us to get what they wanted. Right. At this time, we already had a prophecy told to us by Christ Himself. Right, that we should flee into the mountains when the enemy comes up against us. It's like I'm paraphrasing, but He told us to leave. But instead, some of us stayed. Right, and a lot of us starved. Right. In fact, I believe this paragraph is getting into that, right? Read on.
many outrageous and atrocities were
Mm-hmm.
committed
Right. So many crimes happened to us while we were still in Jerusalem as we were being conquered. Right. Read on.
against the residue of the people.
Right. So the residue, the rest of the people that were left behind, that stayed behind, right? They had atrocities committed against them. Right. Read on.
During the period from Pompey
Mm-hmm.
to Julius, it it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled to Africa,
Fled where?
into Africa.
Right. So they fled into Africa. What are we talking about? Continents, right? What skin color is the majority of everyone in Africa? Brown, black. As you know, we are called today as black people. We're not actually black, but brown. As the so-called woke people, oh, you're not black, you brown. Who cares? Here in America, we're called black. Okay, that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. They were black people. They were dark-skinned people in Africa, which is why the Jews fled into Africa. Right? Read on.
Fleeing from Roman
Persecution.
persecution.
So while we were running, trying to get away from the Romans, to not die, we went into Africa because we were trying to blend in with people of the same skin tone. Not because we were the same people, but because our skin looks alike. So it'd be kind of hard to find us when everybody in this land looks, black. Read on.
And slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
They were full of what?
Black Jewish slaves.
They were full of black Jews, man. They were full of black Jews. But they, Jewish people, them like, oh, we went through the Holocaust. That's not prophesied in the Bible. Your culture's not in here. But Captain Tazariak just went online and destroyed some Jewish rabbi or whoever he was, some Jewish guy, about his history. He asked him plainly, has your people ever been, captured or went into slavery on their own ships at that? He was like, well, we had the Holocaust. He was like, well, Captain's like, that's not what I asked you. I asked, have your people ever went into slavery on ships? He like, what? No. Has your people ever been captured and and put in chains? The only thing he can refer to is the Holocaust. Well, explain to me, how can a people claim to be Jews, but the curses and the blessings doesn't add up? It doesn't show forth proof that they are the real Jews. This is historical facts we're talking about. Even I believe an Egyptian president. I don't know if they use presidents, but I knew he was some type of leader or he had some type of power over Egypt. He himself said the Jews left black and came back white. History should speak for itself. Salakia, right? You can drop that. Wait, is that the end of the paragraph? Most High in Christ. Let's jump to verse what we stopped at. Verse 59, right? Yeah, 49. Salakia. Yeah, you can go to the end of 49.
Okay. Verse 40. Yeah, continuation. As swift as the eagle flieth,
Mm-hmm.
a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Right? We didn't when we came here, we didn't understand English. Didn't understand Spanish. Right? Why am I saying Spanish? Because conquistadors was here. The Spaniards came here. They conquered the native Indians. They took them and sold them in Spain. They took them to Europe and sold them in Europe. They unalived them here in America. Right? This is history. Salakia. And then they brought Negroes over after the oppressor has settled into this land and found some type of way to swindle his way into owning some land or to owning, some type of town or a partial part of America or states is what they call it. Right? We don't?
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance,
Mm-hmm.
which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young.
Right. So we see that even today, right? With George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, right? I forget the brother's name, but he was one of the youngest brothers to be ever executed at 14 years old. Salakia? No, not Emmett Till. He is another cause too. Emmett Till was one of the most atrocities, one of the most, pre-recorded atrocities that happened to a young man. Right? He was beaten, shot, tortured. I forget. I believe his name is Richard Stanley. If I could be mistaken, but he was one of the youngest to ever receive the electric chair. But I'm sure it was a crime that he did not commit. What are we talking about? We're talking about a devil, man. We're talking about a in the wicked of the earth, right? But our history comes from the Bible, man. The things that happen to us. Yes, I'm reading the curses. Why am I reading the curses? Because these are the things that's going to show us who we are. In fact, Salakia. Let me get where is it? Let me get verse 46 before you get that. Right? In the same chapter. Chapter 28, verse 46.
Okay.
This is something that we have to understand as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Yes, we are going through hell together. Yes, we may live life like it's our very end, but we also have to understand that the way that we are being treated, the way that we unalive each other, the way that we seem like the Lord is just always sending something at us. It's because we receive these curses because we decided to not follow these law, statutes, commandments, right? Read that.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee
Mhm.
for a sign.
Matter of fact, Salakia, read up. Let me get 45.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue
Mhm.
thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed.
Right. These curses shall overtake us, man. Shall pursue us. Right. To pursue after something, mean to chase after it, man. Right. When the police get behind, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we get nervous. Some of us take off. What the police say? We in pursuit, man. Right. We on feet. Now we in the car chasing them. High speed chase. We're in pursuit. Right. So when these curses are after us, man. Why? Because of our disobedience, right, Rito?
Because thou
Hearkened. Slakia. Hold on.
Hearken?
Hold on.
Yeah, hearken this,
Mm-hmm.
not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
Right. So these curses, right, continuously come after us because of our disobedience, because of our lack of trust in these law, statutes, commandments to keep us from, being unalived. Right. Jump down to let me get 46.
46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Right. So it shall be upon us for a wonder, for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. What is a sign? If I put up a sign that says stop, it means stop. Doesn't mean, keep going, right? If I put up a sign that says, oh, your left to the left of you is lake so and so. Doesn't say river, it says lake. This is a sign to tell you what to do or where to go. So this sign here, these curses, right? And they wonder, right? When it says wonder, to make you think, help you understand something. If you're wondering about this sign, right, about these curses, okay, this will be upon your seed forever, right? So the sign and the wonder and the curses is something that we should all understand, that this only pertains to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's it. It doesn't pertain to everybody else. Everybody hasn't received, the destruction of their culture by another people. Right? Everybody else can tell where they come from. An African can tell exactly what tribe and what continent he comes from in Africa. Ask a Black man where he comes from. I come from Africa. What tribe you come from? Well, I don't know. I just know we were sold here. Right? In fact, African American wasn't even around in the 1920s. It came around in like the 80s. So what are we really talking about here? That's proof that we were renamed, reshaped, right, by the bywords of America, right? Let's give what was it, 49? The end of 49? Matter of 46. That's what we just read, right? Yeah. Let's jump down to verse 50.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young.
As I said, man, Emmett Till, well, as the brother was saying, he was talking about Emmett Till. Emmett Till didn't get any favor. Trayvon Martin didn't get any favor. Philando Castile didn't get any favor. Right? George Floyd didn't get any favor. Something has to. So like it. Sonia Massey didn't get any favor. She was shot directly in the face for apparently throwing hot water on a police officer. And then after he shot her in the face, he denied her medical aid, which could have saved her life. Well, like, what are we talking about? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have to understand our place is not here in America. You'll never find any type of, rest or any type of peace as, as far as our nation goes, to be unalived. How can we feel comfortable when continuously we, are in a bind or in a hole and in between a rock and a hard place? We don't understand where our next meal or when our water is going to get cut off, or where we're going to have, anything for ourselves, our food. Like I said, our water, clothes. We don't know where that's coming from. All right. So these curses are for a sign, right? To tell you who you are, and a wonder to help you think, right? To wonder why you're going through this. Right? Drop down to let me get verse 54.
Verse 54. so that the man that is tender among you
Mm-hmm.
and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother.
So his eye shall be too evil towards his brother. What does that look like, man? So called. I say so called for a reason, black on black crime. Because you never heard the term of white on white crime, because it doesn't exist. It exists to us because us unaliving each other, it matters. It matters to the extent that the oppressor had to come up with a saying, black on black crime, because your life matters to one another. It should matter. Why am I saying that? Because as a nation of people, we have always looked at each other as nothing. If my household is not going through anything, I'm not worried about it. When you should be worried about the next brother or the next sister, right? At one point, we were, hey brother, how you doing? What's going on? You need something? How you been? We don't look at each other like that anymore. This Negro looking at me a certain type of way. I'm about to go do something to him. Oh, he stepped on my shoe. I want to take his head off now. Oh, this sister dressed like this. Oh, I don't care if she got such and such. I'll beat her up and take it. Why? Why are we so violent against each other? Because these are the curses that were put on blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians for disobeying the law, for disobeying what the Lord said to do. He told us not to do something, and we still chose to do it. He told us not to eat pork. We got gout and high blood pressure, right? He told you not to eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. Now you got some unthinkable disease that that you dying from, some flesh-eating disease, right? And why am I saying some flesh-eating disease? Because when you eat oysters or mussels or clams, what do? Mussels and clams and shellfish do? They clean the bottom of the ocean. Right? When you go to the Bahamas, you wonder why they water so clear. It's because they have a plethora of shellfish to help clean the water. So when you go to the Boston Harbor or to New York, when they got a harbor out there, it's dirty. It's disgusting. It stinks because it's full of crap. They don't have any shrimps or crabs out there. They don't have any oysters or clams to help clean the water because you eat it. You're eating the trash cans. Why are you eating trash? You're eating crap. That's what you're doing. You're eating doo doo. I don't know how else to say it. What us as a nation, we have to understand that eating matters. What we eat, what we put in our bodies, it matters. That flesh eating disease that you got was sent from the Lord because he told you not to eat it. Right? Read on.
And toward the wife of his bosom.
And toward the wife of his bosom, man. Right? And I went into a rant of you not eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster because as black people, we have sold each other, we have helped each other, fall. Right? Which is why I said eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster is the fall of us because we feed it to each other. Right? And the same thing goes for the wife. We have, the single mother households. Our men have, Salakia, we have lost the culture of how it feels to be a father. Right? We have stepped down from that. We don't know what it feels like to raise a household. Right? But the I.S.UP.K does. We've taught men how to be a father, how to raise children, how to teach a wife how to be a wife. Because here in America, they're not teaching your woman how to be a wife. They look, if he don't got no money, don't be with him. I've seen so many arguments online about a man having some money or about a man not having a car or a home or anything for himself, but the woman doesn't have to have that, but the man does. Man has to be well established before any woman could come up upon him to even think, yeah, I want to be with him. But she can be whatever. She could be a gold digger, and America doesn't care. America's not training up women; they're training up monsters. America's not training up men; they're training up monsters. Right? This is the conditions that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians live in. So as far as we live here, the longer Salakia, the longer we live here, the more we want to become like the oppressor. Salakia. Right? Read on.
And toward the remnant of his children.
Right.
which-
Toward the Salak, you can stop right there. Toward the remnant of his children. What does that look like? Right? Some of us don't know who our father are. We, some of us grew up 18, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, still wondering who our dad is. Like, and then we go and find him. Oh, he could have been well off, or he could have been some drug addict, or he could have been a terrible person, which is why, I said us as Black Hispanics, Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians have lost the culture of being a father because no one ever taught us how to be a dad. Those things don't happen in the Black culture until now, until the Blacks, until the I.S.UP.K has stepped on the platform. Since 1969, we have been training up families, men and women, how to be a loving father and mother to your children, right? Because America doesn't teach it, right? Salakia. Let me get. Matter of fact, you can read the rest of that.
Which he shall leave.
Mm-hmm. That's the end of that.
Okay.
Let me get 56.
Verse 56. The tender and delicate woman
Mhm.
among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground
Right.
for delicateness.
Right. So our women were like it said, at one point were so soft, right, and so precious to us that they didn't even put their feet on the ground. Right? They didn't even step down on the ground. They didn't have to do anything. But now our women's feet have turned into bricks. Rough, hard. Right? They didn't turn our women's feet into cinder blocks. Salakia. Why am I saying that? Because they're rough against the husband or the children, right? Which is what this verse is getting into, right? Read on.
And tenderness.
And tenderness, man. Like I say, man, our women were so soft at one point. Now we have become monsters, right? Read on.
Her eye shall be evil toward the husband.
Right. Shall be evil towards the husband, man. Like I said, America has turned our women into beasts. What does that look like? Gold diggers, whores, right? And I don't just mean, sexually. I mean, whores for everything. Doesn't matter. And the same thing for a man. You are we have become whores for America. Why am I saying that? Because if it doesn't help our lifestyle, we not gonna do it. But if America promotes it, we gonna, we all for it. America, as strategically and systematically destroyed Black people to the point where we look at them as our father. He's the one that raised us. So I'm gonna be just like the oppressor. Right? Read on.
Of her bosom.
Right. So the man that's in her household, she gonna kick him out for Section 8. She gonna kick him out so that child can go to pre-K. Right? Read on.
And toward her son.
And towards her son, man. You just like your daddy. You look just like your ugly, ugly A daddy. You this and you that. You do just like your daddy used to do. I hate him. I do this. I did that. Right? Read on.
And toward her daughter.
And towards her daughter, man. She gonna treat her daughter. She gonna train her daughter how to be old. Right? Why am I saying it? Because I've seen it. I've seen it. Being in America, we have witnessed the atrocities and the murder and the strategic dealings that the oppressor has dealt with us. It's been so, subtle and very easy for them to do it because our disobedience and our lack of knowledge of understanding who we are, they can tell us anything and we're going to believe it. Right? So here, our women have, stepped into a place where they feel like they don't need a man. They can train up their children however which way ever, they decide that their child want to go. Right? They tell their daughters what? If the man don't got nothing, leave him. Right? If you don't love him anymore, leave him. You don't like the situation you in, just leave it alone. When in reality, you should not be laying with a man that you don't love. Meaning, if you have not strategically, went through the process of understanding the person that you are dealing with, what are we talking about? You shouldn't have done it. Right? And the same goes for a man. Right? So like you. But this is talking about, we already talked about the men, but this is about the women, right? Read on.
Verse 57.
Right. 57 is to what?
Verse 57.
Uh-huh.
And toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet.
Right. Even the child, man, what are we talking about? Abortion. She's been evil to the child that the child's not even been born yet. But some of our women have born a child at home and threw the baby away or put the baby in a microwave. The oppression that we go through here in America is unheard of. It's very Salakia. I can't say it's unheard of, but it's very disheartening, right? To hear these stories, to hear these true events that happen to us, and have to understand that the reason that we go through this is because of our disobedience. So the history behind it, if we would have listened to the law, statutes, and commandments, we would have been better off than following after America, than follow after Egypt or any other country or culture of people. Then, just following after them, we've been better off with keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Salakia. Jump down to get 58.
Verse 58.
Mm-hmm.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in the book, in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God.
Right. So you're going to fear the Lord's name, man. The Lord is going to teach you how to fear him. Right. So these lessons, these hard lessons that we go through as a nation of people, it ain't just you going through it, but us as a nation have witnessed slavery. Us as a nation have witnessed being unalive, hung on trees. Right. When it says about the strange fruit, right? That was us hanging from the trees, and they still hang us today. Bible says, cursed is the man that hangeth from a tree. I could be, butchering but I'm paraphrasing, right? Cursed shall be us. We're the ones that's being hung from trees, right? Even Christ himself was hung from a tree. That should speak volumes from it. That's very simple to understand. It's plain upon tables. There's nothing that you can refute or come up against. When the same way Christ was hung on a tree, the same way we are being hung on trees today. Simple, right? Let me get 64. Verse 64.
Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Right. The Lord shall scatter thee among all people, right? You got blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians across the world Of course, they here in America, Central and South America, Europe, Eurasia, right? In Asia, Russia, China, Japan, England, Ireland. We are everywhere upon this earth, right? Read on.
From the one end of the earth even unto the other.
So from one end of the earth, even unto the other, right? We are scattered abroad among all nations of people. You go to any country, and you might find a few black people out there, right? We even in Alaska. Alaska is freezing cold. Negroes don't like the snow, man. We don't like the cold, but that's where we at, man. We in them harsh conditions, even if it's physically or mentally or spiritually. That's us. We there. We're the ones that's dealing with it. Why? Because it's a sign and a wonder for us to understand that it is not just a specific country or a specific town or city or street or block that's going through it. It's all of us together, right? Read on.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
Thou shalt serve other gods, right? What does that look like? Right? You serving Shiva, right? She got 7 arms. Was it 8 or 9? I'm not sure. But Shiva means black, by the way. Did a little research on you East Indians, right? Which is a very disgusting people. But that's besides the point. Shiva means black, even though she's blue. That should tell you something there. That their God is black. But they hate black people. Right? Salakia. Buddha. We're gonna serve Buddha. Right? And you want to be, monks. You black monks out there want to serve Buddha. You think that's a good thing for you, even though that their high priest is a he's a pedo. I don't know if I can say that. Salakia. He like underage people. He's disgusting. The Dalai Lama. That's who I'm talking about. Right? You're Muslims. The Rock. Salakia. I'm kind of jumping the gun, but let's read on.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Right. So we don't know any other culture other than this Bible. We don't know any other God but Yahweh, which is our forefathers. Our forefathers knew the Lord. That's who they knew. They didn't know, any other culture. The East Indians God. They didn't know the Chinese gods, the Japanese gods. That we didn't know them. They didn't serve them. Why? Because our God, the God of this Bible, Yahweh, right? He's the one that brought us out of Egypt. He's the one that made us serve him, had us serve him, right? Read on.
Even wood and stone.
Even wood and stone, man. Yeah, Christianity. We didn't know Christianity until the oppressor came and had filled you with lies, telling you that Christ is white. Christ is a white man. Salakia. He is the devil. That's what the white man. It's Salakia. The oppressor. The oppressor is the devil. He's the devil that the Bible speaks of because he told you that Christ is an oppressor. During the Renaissance era of England, right? And even in Jerusalem, right? They made everybody the same color as flower fleas, is what I'm gonna call it. Right? Snow monsters, snow beast. Right? They made them look like them. They made our, Savior, Slakia, our priest and our prophets, right? Our, Savior, Christ. They made them the same color as your oppressor today, the one that rules this earth, right? Read on. Yeah, next verse.
Verse 65.
Wait, so like you said, wood and stone, correct?
Yeah, wood and stone.
Yeah. So that stone is what? In Muslims, your rocks, right? That cobblestone that people bow down to and kiss all day long, even though the rock it's a meteor, right? That fell from the sky. That's what they say. I don't know if it's true or not. I really don't care. It's a rock. The rock doesn't speak or move. Doesn't walk on two legs. Can't make you do anything. But they scream and shout and move around a rock, which hasn't done anything. It's cobblestone. It means nothing. It's a rock. Right? Read on.
Verse 65. And among these nations
Mhm.
shalt thou find no ease.
So in no nation, you're gonna find no type of ease. Oh, everybody want to say, oh, I'm gonna move to across the country. I'm gonna move to England, or I want to go to China. I want to go to Japan. Let me tell you something about the Chinese people and Japanese people. They hate Negroes, but they love your culture. Why am I saying they hate Negroes but love your culture? They dress like you, but they don't want to be you, right? Which is why the Chinese people and the Japanese people kicked out African Americans. I'm saying African Americans for a reason, but they kicked out black people from living among them. They kicked them out specifically just so they can fill the the apartments with more Chinese people because they hate you. That's their culture. That's what they do. They don't love you. It's nowhere here in America across the pond is what they say in the Europe or Russia or Ireland will you ever find ease or any type of rest. You won't find it because you'll always be persecuted, just like we were persecuted in Jerusalem when we were back then, when we decided that we didn't follow after the law, when we didn't want to. In the same way we do it today here in America or in Ireland or in Europe or Asia or Russia or Greenland. Black people are scattered everywhere, but no matter where you go, we will always be oppressed. Right? Read on.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Man, you going to work like a slave, man. And I know brothers and sisters that got 3 and 4 jobs just to keep a roof. We just talking about the roof. Just to keep the roof over their head. That's it. Not even excluding the food, the car, right? The clothes. Just the house. Right? Read on.
But the Lord shall give thee their trembling heart.
A trembling heart, man. Fearful. Right? You scared all the time because you don't understand what's going on. Right? Read on.
And failing of eyes.
Right. So you don't see no way out, man. Read on.
And sorrow of mind.
And sorrow of mind, man. You depressed, man. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how you're going to get out of this. Right? All you do is work, sleep, and work some more. You can barely eat. You barely make enough money to eat. All he wants you to do is slave for him, man. Right? Read on. Verse 66.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt fear day and night.
Right. So thy life, man, you don't know if you're gonna live for the day and die tomorrow or you're gonna die today. Why am I saying it? Because living in the projects of America, man, driving down the road in America, walking up and down the street here in America, you don't know if you're going to die or live to make it to your next destination because of the oppression and the curses that were put upon us because of our disobedience, man. Right? According to this Bible, according to the Lord, right? These are the things that happen to us. These are the curses that were put upon us as a nation of people, right? To give us a sign and a wonder so that we can start to fix our problems. That we can start to, hey, wow, okay. I'm going through this, but the Lord said this is going to happen to me. The Lord said this. I must be, an Israelite. I must be the children of the Most High. This must be happen to only Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians because I don't see any other nation going through this. I don't see any other people going through this. Right? Read on.
And shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Meaning, like I said, man, you don't know whether you're gonna die or live. You going outside not knowing, the next moment your life can be taken from you. Or the next moment a police officer could pull you over and put you in jail for the rest of your life. Just because of a crime that you did not commit. Right? Drop on 68.
Verse 68.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
again. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. Right? When I first heard this precept coming into the truth, I'm like, what does this mean? Right? I need some help understanding what's going on here. Because I don't live in Egypt. Right? When the Bible says Egypt, right, it means slavery or bondage. Right? Egyptos means the house of bondage. Right? So when the Bible says, even though we were physically in the land of Egypt, what Egypt means bondage, right? When you go into the Greek, right? The house of bondage. Why? Because everybody was oppressed in Egypt, right? But we're talking about Israelites here that was, freed from, slavery in Egypt, that were brought out of their captivity, right? But this is saying that, read it again.
The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So this is saying that if we didn't follow the law, statutes, commandments, right? If we didn't follow, what Christ said in Salakia, right? Salakia, what Christ said and what Moses said, or vice versa, right? Because they both coincide with each other, right? We didn't listen to the prophets, right? We didn't listen to the law, statutes, commandments, that the Lord would send us back into Egypt, back into bondage, right? Read on.
With ships.
With what?
Ships.
With ships, man. What nation of people was sent into bondage on ships? And please do not say the Irish. I beg, Salakia, I beg you not to say the Irish. Why am I saying that? Because the Irish came over here as indentured servants. They were paid to come here. They were hired to work. Negroes were not. We were not hired to work. We didn't make any money. Instead, the money that we did make, we were beat. That's the money that we did receive. The money that we did receive is our babies ripped out of our stomachs. And used as alligator bait or stumped on. Why? Because the oppressor is the devil. Those are the things that, happen to us here in America because of our disobedience. We were sold unto an evil nation, right? A perpetual hatred. He's hated us from the beginning And after he sold us his birthright. That's why I'm talking about Jacob and Esau. Right? It's another breakdown for another class to help brothers understand exactly why we say that the oppressor is Esau and exactly why we say he is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Right? Read on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
Right. So exactly how I said it is exactly how it's going to happen. So the same way I speak unto you, I'm saying you're gonna go into slavery on ships. It's the same way it's going to happen. And just as the brother read in the book of Babylon to Timbuktu, page 84, says the markets, the slave markets, were full of like what, 1 million black Jewish slaves. It says Jewish because of the world that we live in, but of Jews, black Jews. That's what the slave market was full of, because Africans understood that we were not the same. Black people and African people are not the same people. We do not come from one another. They rounded us up and put us in chains and sold us to the oppressor. But black people, us and Africans are the same. No, we're not. Completely different from each other. All right, read on.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
Thou shalt see your homeland no more again, man. You're not gonna see it again. You're not gonna see your family, right? We're not gonna understand what it feels like to be in something that we can call our own, right? We're not gonna understand what it feels like to say, right? I tilled this land since I was a baby. And we're talking about a nation of people, not just one, family or a few families, but a nation of people. You're not going to see your homeland again. We can't call this land our own when it was taken from us, right? Read on.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen.
Right. And there you shall be sold to your enemies, right? It doesn't say friends or to your brother or to your cousin. It says you shall be sold to your enemies for a bondman. Right? What is a bondman? A slave man. Right? Read on. And bond women. Right? A slave woman. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we were the ones that were slaves. We were the ones that's in the sugarcane fields and the tobacco fields, right? Picking cotton, man, getting tore up by the cotton. Salakia. I don't know if, well, we all should know that cotton has thorns on them, right? And it's cutting us up, right? Rigorous, torture that we had to go through, right? It was very painful to pick cotton and sugarcane and tobacco. Why am I saying this? Because if we did not bring back enough, we were beat for it. We were unalive for it, right? Read on.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall redeem you, man. Shall look to you and like, okay, let's get these people out of this situation, right? And that goes back to my point, back to Captain Tazariak and the Jewish man. Because his people, the Jewish people, look towards America to be saved, not to the Lord. Right? In 1948, the Jewish man was put in Jerusalem. Right? That's where, they say, oh, I've been in Jerusalem for many years. That's where my culture comes from. No, it does not. It doesn't. You don't fit these curses. You don't fit the blessings of this Bible. The Lord didn't give you these blessings. The Lord didn't tell you, you going into, slavery if you don't follow these laws and commandments. Right? Throughout the Bible, it says that, the Jews are black. Christ is black. God is black. The angels are black. Simple. It's very easy to understand, but People make it hard. But as I said, America redeemed the Jewish man. The Lord did not. And with that, that's my time. I'm preaching officer 50 I.S.UP.K. Yahweh Shem Salakia. Bring up the Shamar. Clap it up, Officer Shemai the bar. All right, let's clap it up.
Security announcements. Security announcements. We are the I.S.UP.K, starting out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commandant General Yohana. No rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother and sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother and sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Ties, which is the commandment. You can find us in Numbers 18 and 21 and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Means 10th in the Hebrew. Is pronounced ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives to you in the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Up holy convocation. We're going to have the Feast of Purim. What's on? In March. Remind Akim and Aguathium to check social media such as I.S.UP.K.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.UP.K events and materials. If a brother wants to become a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, Amadium, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, Menevizo, Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak, Yahweh Shemiel Shabrak Thum, Yajamatah, Sar, we're going to turn to face the sisters. Sisters, Amadium, which means to stand. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak, Yahweh Shemal Tah Ba Shemi El Shai. Yajamatah, class is missed.